to the home of Sallie Jones and her lovely perennial garden. Sallie, I understand that this was once your front lawn and there was grass here. Do you mind telling us how long it took to transform this into this lush perennial garden that it is today?
Sure, Courtney. Yes, this was grass, typical front yard lawn, this time last year. And a friend and professional garden designer suggested that I could turn it into a perennial garden. So I started last June or July to get rid of the grass and plant a suite of different herbaceous perennials, things that would give a variety of color and texture throughout the growing season.
It almost looks like a bouquet of wild plants. There's some tall grasses. Are those native grasses?
The tallest grasses are not. Those are featherweed grass. They're not a native grass, but there are some shorter grasses in here which will get taller later in the season.
Okay.
I selected plants based on their color, the season of bloom, and the variety of texture, so that there would be something interesting in the garden beginning around Memorial Day and going through the time of frost. And what's interesting, I think, about this garden is the idea is that it's very low maintenance. I don't cut things down in the winter. I let the seed heads die. They can become food for birds. And it's not until March that I come in and cut down any dead material and cut it into little pieces and lay it down at the base of the plants. There'll be something different coming in, every few weeks. Something else will be coming to bloom. They're daisy-like yellow flowers right here, coreopsis. It's called.
Those are my favorite.
Known as tick-seed. There are coneflowers. There's just a lot of different plants that have different shapes and colors through the season. So it's an experiment. My husband dug all the holes almost, and we put in, 100 and some plants last August. It's just been fun, and I'm already thinking like an editor would about, I think I might change that area over there.
Yeah, well,
So-
to do a project like this, you definitely have to be organized and selective. There's a lot going on in this garden. Check it out. So, Sallie is multi-talented. She's not only a perennial garden grower and a gardener of flowers in pots and things, but she also has an amazing backyard that she landscaped herself. How did you learn how to do all of that?
When we moved to this area, and after my kids were grown, I was encouraged by a friend to take the plant classes at Longwood Gardens, and there are a series of 2 certificate courses in ornamental horticulture. So for about 10 years, I took all the classes that were offered, and it's a wonderful program. And following that, I decided to keep going. So there's a series of courses in landscape design, and I took those classes and earned the certificate there.
You're like the PhD of landscape and gardening.
Oh,
You should have your own magazine.
No, not really. But then I learned a lot of plants and how to find the right plant for the right place, depending on light, type of soil, moisture, and that sort of thing. And when we moved to this property 5 years ago, it was pretty much a blank slate. And so I wanted to use all the things that I had learned at Longwood Gardens in my courses. I just like a variety of textures and colors. The stone path was put in shortly after we moved here. And then I have some small evergreens that are color and texture in the winter, but a lot of this just dies back to the ground. So you don't see anything in the winter back here. But as the growing season begins, lots of plants coming up with different color, and if you could look over the edge of the garden wall, you would see lots of plants in pots that I have plans for.
Yeah, I feel like it's like a terrarium in here. Everything is so pushed together and so nicely placed and lush. It's amazing that this can die every year and come back this full of life.
Yeah. Some of the plants that are here, I moved from our previous residence. David and I lived in Westtown Township, only about 10 minutes away. And when we bought this house, we had an acre of land and lots of plants there. That's where I started collecting all the plants I'd learned in my longwood classes. And so we brought a few. Plants are like family, you can't leave them behind. You take them wherever you go.
Plant mom.
So I like to collect plants. I like, one of each kind, and almost never see a plant that I don't like. And don't wish I had, and take the challenge of trying to grow it.
They make great friends.
Yeah, they do. So this is our backyard, and I see it as sort of two different challenges. My shade garden to my right, and my somewhat sunny, half sunny, half shady garden on the other side. So I need two different suites of plants to kind of fill up the space. And that's been interesting to find the right plants. There's this big blue atlas cedar that you see over my head, and it's got shallow roots that suck all the moisture out of the ground. So I have to find plants that will grow in very dry soil as well as shade. And on this side, the soil is very wet, which is interesting. It doesn't, the roots don't extend over there. And it's very nutrient poor soil, so I do add organic material. We compost our vegetables and fruit peels and eggshells and things, coffee grounds, things like that. And I'm always adding compost to the soil and trying to find plants that are happy when their feet are a little bit wet. And so again, I'm looking for different colors and textures. I like this kind of dark red color as an accent in my garden. So I look for that in plants when I'm out shopping, but I wouldn't say that I choose one color specifically. I kind of like the palette of cool colors in my garden. And a lot of the plants I do grow for the pollinators. I have Joe Pye weed, a couple different cultivars of Joe Pye weed, so I have it in different heights. That gets covered with butterflies. A lot of coneflowers back here. I have ornamental onions. The bees really like those a lot. It's a little early in the season for plants that are going to be the magnets for the pollinators later. So you're not going to see very much activity. I let some of my salad greens go to seed, so they're flowering right now. We picked a lot of salad greens, and the bees and things seem to like that, so I just let it go to seed. Asters are something that, this is an aster. I have about 5 of these or 6 of them on the property. It doesn't look like anything right now, but it'll be covered with blue daisies in October. So really late in the year. This is then, and the Joe Pye weed grows up behind it, about this tall, and it has pink blossoms. And these two are just covered with butterflies and bees. It's really fun. See, my project this year is to put a little stone walkway through the garden. So this is Avondale quarry stone, which is the same thing that wall is made from. So I've got to get out here with my shovel and dig these into the ground, so they're pretty close to level. What you're coming toward is an underground reservoir. I have a 700-gallon tank under this plastic lid, and all the rainwater that comes off the south side of the house collects in that gutter, comes down that downspout, comes under the ground, and collects in this tank underground here. There's 700 gallons of water there, and then that's my hydrant. So as long as we have rain, I don't have to use the city water of Westchester to water my garden.
Wow,
I
that's
just
awesome.
take my hose,
That's amazing.
and until a half an inch of rain off the south side of my house
You said it was a 700-gallon tank?
will fill that up, half
Wow.
an inch of rain. So
Wow.
yesterday we got 1.3 or 4 inches of rain, or 1.7 inches of rain, I think, in the 2 showers that we've had. So this is more than filled up.
Wow.
And good to go for watering in the next dry spell. So there's just lots of different projects. Never get tired of gardening and trying new plants.